today. Aminra Mashariki, Daniel Balouek-Thomert, Zoran Obradovic, and Marija Stanojevic. And we're really excited that they can tell you about their data science journeys, because data science is such a growing field. It is super important, and it's going to become more important. And we want all of you to have a seat at the table. And so they're going to talk about their journeys and how you can get started on yours. Okay, if we can go to the next slide, Macy. So the Northeast Student Data Corps is brought to you by the Northeast Big Data Innovation Hub. And the Northeast Big Data Innovation Hub is a community convener and collaboration hub. We create and enable a network designed to fuel data science innovation through diverse and inclusive community partnerships with academia, higher ed, K through 12, STEM programs, industry, nonprofits, government, everybody who wants to jump in and be part of the data science ecosystem. And we do this with these diverse and inclusive community partnerships that allow us to get to students, communities, and institutions throughout the United States and actually around the world. We want to welcome the people from around the world who are tuning in today. We support representative community engagement, and real big part of our job is to increase data science capacity and talent. So we have 4 main focus areas, as you can see on this slide: education, data literacy, health, urban to rural communities, and responsible data science, including security, privacy, and ethics. In education and data literacy, our premier program is the one that you're learning about today, the Northeast Student Data Corps. In the health area, we have a COVID Information Commons, and you can find all this at anybigdatahub.org/about. In urban to rural communities, we have a working group that's going on there, which is very exciting. And in responsible data science, including security, privacy, and ethics, we have a number of interesting programs, including a connected healthcare cybersecurity workshop series that we're kicking off with IEEE, which is the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers, on February 24th. And you can find out about all of this at our website, anybigdatahub.org/about. On the next slide, what we want to do is tell you a little bit more about the Northeast Student Data Corps. So last summer, we decided that we wanted to help create a diverse and inclusive community for data science, starting with the students today that are going to become the leaders of tomorrow. And so we put out a call for participation in a founding committee for the Northeast Student Data Corps. We were really excited that we had about 20 people say they wanted to participate, including professors, researchers, industry leaders, nonprofits, and students. And so together we make up the founding committee for the Northeast Student Data Corps. We broke up into 3 different teams, or actually we collaborate on 3 different teams. We have the content and pedagogy team, which has been putting together what we launched today as our Educator Central and Learner Central, where you can find open data science content, classes, curriculum, videos, data sets, so you can learn data science and you can teach data science. We have a Learner Central and an Educator Central. The peer instructor and mentoring team is starting their work through the Slack channel that we've launched. So you can go in there and join the Slack channel, ask for mentoring, meet other people, and we'll be continuing to leverage that program and evolve it as time goes on. The outreach team is responsible for the outreach, which includes this data science career panel. And we really want to thank them for all the work they did to get this done. And then on the next slide, what we want to do is show you the founding committee. So these are the people who actually are bringing you the Northeast Student Data Corps. We're very grateful for their leadership, for their partnership, and they're going to help us bring this into the future. So now on the next slide, what I'd like to do is to hand this over to Haley, our co-moderator. She's going to introduce the panelists, and then we're going to get started asking them some cool questions and finding out so much about data science and their journeys. Haley?
Thanks, Florence, for sharing all that important information. So for today, we're delighted to have our 4 panelists here join us. We have Aminra Mashariki, Global Director of the Data Lab at World Resources Institute, former Chief Analytics Officer for the City of New York, and former White House Fellow. Next, we have Daniel Balouek-Thomert, Research Associate and Lecturer at the Rutgers Discovery Informatics Institute at Rutgers University. Then we have Zoran Obradovic, Professor and Director for the Center of Data Analytics and Biomedical Informatics at Temple University. And finally, we have Marija Stanojevic, PhD student at the Center of Data Analytics and Biomedical Informatics at Temple University as well. So let's start off with our panelists giving a more in-depth introduction of themselves. So panelists, please tell us about what you do now and how it relates to data science. What's your day-to-day look like? And please feel free to share prior roles you have had related to data science as well. So Amin-Ra, would you like to start us off?
Thank you so much, Haley. I really appreciate it. And Florence and the Northeast Big Data team, thank you so much for the invitation to continue to engage with such an amazing organization. So I'll just be quick and say that, one, I'm no longer the global director of the data lab at World Resources Institute, but I'm transitioning to have transitioned to a senior fellow position because I'm actually moving into the private sector, which I'll talk a little bit more in more detail. But one of the things I'll say is my path really started in the data science space. I was a research faculty at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab for many years, and I worked in the bioinformatics space. And so that I really began to think about data at that point. But then when I transitioned to the public sector, I was a White House fellow and then became the CTO at a federal agency. When I transitioned to the public sector, I really began to think about really big challenges that were going to impact people's day to day. And then I transitioned to be the chief analytics officer for the city of New York and the director of the mayor's office for data and analytics. And I've had roles since leading up to now. And the one consistent thread there is that my career has been at the beginning of when data science really began to take hold, and it has moved all the way through to now. And one of the clear things that I did across all of those roles was to try to find ways to use data to have an impact in a particular domain. And data science was the tool that was used. Data science, machine learning, AI, those were the tools that we used. But I never lost sight of the idea of having impact in a particular space. Those were the tools. Data science was the tools that was used, but it was clear to have that I needed to have an impact.
Thank you, Amin-Ra, for sharing that. And congratulations on the new position. Looking forward to hearing more about your journey with data science in the public and private sector. So moving on, Daniel, would you like to go next and introduce yourself a bit more?
Sure. Thanks again for having me. So I'm a research associate at Rutgers University. My research focuses on the efficient use of cloud computing infrastructure for time-critical application. In this context, data science come into play to enable fast decision-making in complex scenarios. One example in our recent work is earthquake and tsunami detection, where a result is only as good as the speed and accuracy to obtain it. In general, this kind of urgent application requires to balance concern of multiple types: the urgency of the result, the volume of data to process, the privacy of the data you acquire. So this kind of application showcases the real power of distributed computing, with significant processing taking place not only in centralized places in the cloud, but everywhere on your phone, your car, and anything in between. There is something like 20 billion of devices connected to the internet now. So I'll let you imagine the kind of coordination you have to make between data sources and computing devices. This will deliver big gains not only in computing, but also in the life of the increasing number of people and fields who will be connected to the power of the internet. The day-to-day in my job is a mix of system programming for accessing devices and resources, data processing for transforming the raw data into knowledge, but also collaborative tasks with students, other researchers to be able to share all those results and the associated expertise.
Wow, thank you, Daniel, for sharing that and sharing more about your research and how you leverage data science in that academic setting and beyond. So next we have Zoran. Zoran, please feel free to introduce yourself as well and tell us more about what you do and have done as it relates to data science.
Yeah, first, thank you very much for inviting me. I love talking about data science. That's what I do, right? Yeah. So people ask me why you are in this field. Yeah. So is that because this is the sexiest job, or is this because it's well paid, or And nothing like that, right? That happened, yeah, like, it's good to have all of that, yeah. But this is just actually excitement, extracting value from data, is what I like. Yeah, I always was double major, triple major when they allowed, yeah, and always thought, yeah, there's something else that I might want to do. In fact, I was an undecided major, if you ask me. Yeah. And then I discovered also that I like team sports, yeah, and this is definitely team sport, if you ask me. Yeah. So you really actually do well here if you enjoy it. If you like working with people who are nothing like you, yeah, you need partners that come from the other side, yeah, from the domain. I'm from the side of data analytics, yeah. So people say computer science, yeah, but actually I have a PhD in computer science, yeah, but I actually see big difference in what we do compared to what computer scientists traditionally do, right? Yeah, typically, you are given this input and then you are asked to write a program that will produce certain output here, and we call them coding monkeys, yeah, and I'm not one of them. So I like it actually the other way around. I would like to get a data and output and then learn the program. Yeah, that's called machine learning. Yeah, that would actually figure out these dependencies. Yeah, and it's so much fun. Yeah, and maybe I should say stop here. Yeah, and if I have a chance, I can illustrate a little bit of what I do. Yeah. But as I said, undecided major, that means, yeah, you collaborate with a variety of great people. Thanks.
Thank you, Zoran. And your love for data science is definitely shining through, and we always appreciate that. And finally, Marija, please tell us more about what you do.
Thank you. I am a PhD student at Temple University. Thank you for inviting me. So I actually started as a software engineer. I've done undergraduate in software engineering, and I realized after 2 years of work that it is not exciting enough for me. And therefore I came to do PhD in US. So I am an international student here. Basically, why I like it, because it involves a lot of mathematics besides computer science. So it has also opportunities for you to work with different kinds of fields, and I collaborate a lot with medical doctors or biologists, and basically because my focus point is to try to understand the different kinds of sequences, mainly textual sequences and biological sequences such as DNA and DNA related information. And beside that, what I can share about here is I've done 3 internships here as international students. So if anybody is interested in that, please ask away. I've done 2 internships with Facebook and 1 with Alliance Data Systems, and I'm an upcoming intern at LinkedIn this summer. Yeah, thank you.
Well, congratulations on the upcoming position, and thank you for sharing. It's always important to have a student's perspective when it comes to pursuing data science. And thank you all for sharing more information on each of your roles. So now let's go more in depth and discuss your personal journeys with data science. So please share more about your beginnings and path with data science. So what specific experiences drew you to this field, and how did you get involved, whether through your educational background or your professional experience? So let's start this question off with Amin Ra. So Amin, feel free to answer whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Haley. So I'll say that, so my background is the traditional computer science background. And I'm proud to say I went to all historically Black colleges for all of my degrees. Undergrad in computer science at Lincoln University, master's in computer science at Howard, and then a doctorate in engineering at Morgan State, right? And so I was of that traditional sort of pathway of computer science, because I'm just that old. But, and then I went into the private sector, and I was at Motorola for a bunch of years. And so I was a software engineer, I was a programmer, I was a developer, and so on and so forth. I think, again, for me, my career transition was going from what I referred to, so I used to refer to myself as a computer scientist, and then there was a point in which I began to refer to myself as a technologist. The difference between the two is that I saw computers, when I was a computer scientist, I was truly about the computer science, the algorithmic performance management and optimization side of things, and the math side of things. I had 3 patents while I was at Motorola. I mean, I really dug into the math and science of it all. But once I pulled back and began to focus more on the impact of what I was doing, that's when I felt as though I became a technologist. Now, and again, like I said before, technologists have many tools. You can be a digital expert in terms of sort of web design and so on and so forth, or you could be a data scientist or machine learning engineer. I chose the latter because I felt like data was such a powerful resource that had not, as I was coming up, had not really found its way to be used in certain communities, in certain domains. And when I was in the federal government during the Obama administration, was when federal government moved into open data and was really made this big play around open data. And it was like, wow, there's tons of data, there's lots of data. And we're now going to start having access to a lot of this federal data, a lot of local data. What are some of the really important things we can do? And that was a question that was burning with me. That's what sort of took me to take all of my computer science skills and then transition them into data science. And so I was lucky enough and have been lucky enough to exist in all of the different industries, right? I started my career in private sector. After Motorola, I went to Johns Hopkins and I was a research scientist in academia and have always remained as in academia, currently a fellow at Georgetown Beck Center for Social Impact and Innovation. And then also in government, right? And so what I realized, I can go through a lot of those pieces, but I think where I have really made the most impact is working as the Chief Analytics Officer in New York City and the Mayor's Office for Data Analytics. And I'll just explain, and then I'll stop what those two roles were. Those were two separate roles that existed within my purview in the Mayor's Office in New York City. So as the Chief Analytics Officer, my job was to think about, for all of the agencies and all of the entities in the city, think about the data science strategy that the city as a whole would deploy, the standards, the concepts, the data, the tools that we would deploy as a unit, right? How we share data, what types of data standards we utilized, what type of partnerships we built. So I had as the Chief Analytics Officer, I had the purview of the full depth and breadth of the agencies in New York City in terms of deploying data science capacity and capability. As the director of the Mayor's Office for Data and Analytics, which we affectionately call MODA, I led a team of, got up to usually get about 8 or 9 data scientists. And the way I described our role was that we were a no-cost analytics consulting firm to the city of New York, right? And so what that meant is when the mayor, so in this order of priority, the mayor, deputy mayors, or agency commissioners came calling and said, we have a problem. We hope and/or we believe that data and this new data revolution and data science can help us. Can you come and play a role in helping us solve one of these key city problems? And our team responded. We were a small team of really young, and MODA exists now, and it's still the same format, which is a small team of really young data scientists who have energy and passion, and really use data and data science methods and machine learning technology to solve some really complex issues. And I think that's where, at that point, was when I realized, like, I love this. And this is where my career trajectory since then has really stayed on that plane of using data and data science to make the quality of life for people in cities better.
Wow, thank you so much for highlighting different ways in which you use your traditional data science educational background to work as data scientist and technologist and create real impact in so many realms, from academia to local and federal government. So thank you for that. Maria, would you like to go next and tell us about your journey as a student? And also feel free to tell us more about the cool internships that you've done.
Yes, well, I already mentioned a bit, but basically, I have started with a very strong mathematics high school for gifted mathematicians. So I like mathematics and programming and everything since I was little. So I've seen one of the questions in Q&A from a high school student who is interested in this. Yes, you can do stuff already from that point. Especially in US, there are so many opportunities to go for summer schools or similar similar programs. I put a bit into the answer. And then I've been doing software engineering undergrad afterwards, because I realized in my country that was the best suited program for me at that point, and also it allowed me to get to know programming and computer science very well, so that if I want to expand into machine learning later on, data science, I can do it. And then actually I started working and I transitioned. I've actually been working as a software engineer, but also with data. So we were working on trying to help schools understand how well their programs work, how well students are learning, and how they compare to other schools in UK. And I'm telling this because I also saw a question about how data science is related to teaching. So data science is actually related to anything. If you just have, if you're able to collect the data, you can use it to understand your area. And we've even had a project in our lab trying to understand like how students are graded at Temple University, basically how they progress, what are their paths, will they drop out or not, so on. Yes, so I've been working on such a project through my job, and then I realized that I actually want to do more than only software engineering. So I think once you do machine learning data science, you still do a bit of software engineering. You still have to obviously program your model that would learn from the data. And because I also had strong background in mathematics, so I decided to go for master's in data in data processing, and then I came here for PhD in machine learning. And now it depends, obviously, if you want to go to academia or to industry, but for me, I knew always that I want to work in industry rather, so I've been doing basically, it is very hard to find an internship, even within our field, which is easy to find job for, but especially if you're international students, it is hard. So I've been lucky, and also I've been very persistent when trying to find those internships. One thing I want to say, if you're interested in doing them, you have to start applying since basically August, September, which I've been doing, and you usually have internship somewhere around December, the latest, for the next summer. And I've done 3 internships, one related to unsupervised learning in digital media, and then 2 at Facebook, one related to applications for recruiting. So basically trying to understand resumes of people and connect them to appropriate jobs. And then the last one related to understanding locations, so the users for Facebook, based on their positions and their properties and so on. And this was through deep learning modeling. And the next internship is at LinkedIn, which I don't know yet what it is about, but basically that would be some cycle. And then if people have more questions regarding a particular thing, I can go into that. But definitely, even if you're going to academia, I would suggest doing at least one internship in industry, just for you to understand how the process works. Because if you're going to academia, you would at least be a teacher for one course, and that is important for you to understand what are your students going through, right? But especially if you're going to industry, back to industry, or after your undergrad, if you're going to industry, I would suggest doing the internships because it's really helpful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing your story and all the cool things you've already done with data science. Like, applying it to teaching and education, and then transitioning to industry is very inspiring. Will help a lot of students here tuned in. So thank you for that. So let's move on to our next question regarding data science career opportunities. So what opportunities do you think are available now and in the future with data science? What are the top emerging research areas in the data science field, and what trends in data science should students be aware of? So Zoran, let's start this question off with you.
So yeah, thanks for asking that question. Yeah, so this is one of the exciting things in this field. Yeah, that we have more problems than solutions. Yeah, people are collecting data more than ever. Yeah, so it's you have new ways to collect data. Yeah, disk space is cheap, so we just end up by collecting more and more data, but people want more out of that data. Yeah, and technology is not yet at a level that magic happens on its own. Yeah. So, and it will not happen that soon. Yeah. So we are working on many exciting problems as a community. Yeah. But there's need for more, a lot more data scientists. Yeah. So you have to start somewhere. Yeah. So then there are multiple ways to get involved. Yeah. So I recommend people to start with some existing solutions that seem to work to some extent, usually to some extent, not completely. Yeah. And then you ask question, yeah, what can I do the same if I'm not Google? Yeah. So I don't have that much of data. And then if you ask that kind of question, yeah, there's so many people out there who would start listening. They would say, oh, I have data, but not really that much. Yeah. So what can you, but I know something. Yeah. So lots of my collaborators are of that kind. Yeah. So I collaborate, for example, with medical doctors a lot. Yeah. And it's not just data. They also have higher level knowledge. Yeah. So we have to team up. Yeah, I already mentioned that the important characteristics, and we have to start somewhere. So identify a problem. Yeah. Try to learn from people who are already involved. Yeah. People who are involved in some exciting work. Yeah. They need more. They need more people on the deck. Yeah. And they just like to getting involved. Yeah. So if you're completely new, yeah, so approach some people who are doing things and try to see if you can help somehow. Yeah. If you can shadow somebody who is already doing that and learn a bit. Yeah. And then you go to more exciting problems. Yeah. And talk to people who are involved. There are many ways to actually start, right? Yeah. Traditional so would be take courses, yeah, and that's a very good way to learn. Yeah, that's not the only way, and it's not enough to take courses in this field. Yeah, because field is really broad. Yeah, so you can end up taking courses all your life. Yeah, and you will still not know everything. Yeah, you have to start doing things. Yeah, and this is beautiful here that you can start with essentially very little. Yeah. And then go step by step from there. Yeah. So that's what I recommend. Yeah. So get involved. Yeah. If you are lucky enough that where you are in your school, yeah, there are people who are doing that. Approach them. Yeah, and see, can I join you guys? That's highly recommended. Yeah. If that's not an option, yeah. So see if you can connect virtually, like we are connecting right now. It's a small world after all, you know, and go from there. Yeah. So if there's no course at your school, yeah, there's this tutorial online, typically free. Yeah. Try to actually learn from these resources. But it's important to actually understand what should I read and what's more important right now for me. Yeah. What programming should I know? Yeah, I have to obviously program, but what language, for example, starting from that. Yeah, all these are actually important questions. So it works better if you connect with people who are already there, maybe just a step ahead of you. Yeah, and then you learn by collaborating and playing. Yeah, it works for me at least the best. Yeah, if it's a real problem. Yeah. So then you don't call it work, yeah. It's more like fun, yeah, and you're trying to do something that has not been done yet, yeah, and that's real excitement. Yeah, can we do it a little bit better? Yeah, is that going to be of use? Yeah, many of things, for example, in my lab are of a predictive kind. Yeah, but first thing before I go to project, yeah, I really actually ask, yeah, and what if we can predict well? Yeah, so maybe that's still not going to change anybody's life. Yeah, but if we can predict just a little bit better than lousy, yeah, if lousy is the state of the art, yeah, maybe that's actually really great. Yeah, if that can actually help people do something better. Yeah. For example, one of my projects is related to what we were reading this week a lot. Yeah, what's happening in Texas? Yeah, with electricity. I actually collaborate on people in Texas. Yeah, all that industry. There's just one example of how you get involved. Yeah, I got involved with power systems people. Yeah, because I didn't like that concept of you try to understand. They tell you, yeah, oh, this is very complicated, yeah, and this is a complex system, yeah, and then what we do, we know that bad things will happen, yeah. So we have spare parts, and then when something happens, we go there and try to fix it. In the meantime, people don't have electricity, yeah, and then you don't have electricity, you don't have water, and many other things. Yeah. So downstream, it's a disaster, very costly. Quality of life of people goes down. Yeah. And maybe that's not required. Yeah. Only if we could possibly do things a little bit more proactive. Yeah. And that's exactly actually what we are doing in that project. Yeah. We are using all that data that we can measure, weather data is readily available, information from the grid, yeah, and then we are trying to predict risk that something bad will happen. And if we can do that, yeah, and we show that we can actually do that, predict several hours before the event, yeah, that we're very likely to have a problem there. Yeah. So there's a lots of things that can be done upfront. Yeah. So they can, if nothing else, yeah, they can actually send these guys there to the location so that we actually suffer less, yeah, because they're already there. But more than that, right? If you are Texas, and then if somebody tells you you are likely to stay without water, what you're going to do? Yeah, you will probably actually drink water, right? Yeah. So that at least you're not thirsty. Probably you'll do more than that, right? Yeah, you will try to accumulate some water. So prepare, right? So many things can be done, yeah, if you can do just a little bit better than random, yeah. And then lots of my work is, in fact, in healthcare. I also mentioned that. Yeah. But if you think about healthcare, that's also a reactive business. Yeah. So people go to see a doctor when they have a problem. Yeah. It would be much nicer if we do a lot more of this proactive things. Yeah. We do to some extent, but not enough, right? Yeah. So this is actually where data science helps, including my lab. Yeah. So we actually look, you know how Netflix looks to the world. Yeah. You like that movie, we will recommend you another one. Yeah. So why not? Yeah. So you have this disease, I would recommend you another disease. Not quite like that. Yeah. But actually that's called comorbidity. Yeah. Given that that you have a certain medical issue, yeah, so risk for some other issues is increasing, yeah, and we can proactively go there and try to come up with a defense up front, right, rather than waiting for this to happen, yeah. And that's happening in the whole industry. Yeah. So data mining, data science is actually accepted to a very large extent in these very conservative industries. Yeah, once they see, yeah, that this can actually help improving quality of service. Yeah. So that's what I actually think is important. Yeah, connect to the important problem. Yeah, connect to people who are from whom you can learn a bit more and go from there.
Thank you, Zoran, and thank you for that great insight and just demonstrating how relevant data science can be, even in regards to what's happening today in Texas. Moving on, Daniel, would you like to continue on discussing career opportunities and trends within data science?
Sure. So starting with my personal experience from someone that shifted to data science in his career in research, I would say that there is a lot of opportunities to try playing with data science tool without much risk. I mean, if you consider Python, Excel, Hadoop, or any other framework, you can easily find tutorial and apply them to a large amount of data set that are available online. Not only it's a good way to gain skills, but also confidence in understanding the big picture of how it works. And I think this is a key to be able to say, hey, I would like to do an internship. I play with that tool. Maybe this is not exactly the tool they use, but seeing that you're someone that took the initiative of analyzing data, maybe looking for pattern, it's something, you will be able to understand bigger challenges. And I think, as we heard earlier, you have to start somewhere, and a lot of internship right now will just ask you to start with one little thing before moving to bigger places. In terms of the kind of field and emerging area that are opening in data science, the first thing I'm thinking is artificial intelligence and machine learning workflow. We had actually a question on the chat, and I was about to discuss that topic about precision agriculture, which is something we are currently working on. A lot of these applications are already used in the world. I'm thinking about Sub-Saharan Africa, part of Asia, South America, where many people face serious connectivity issues. So some of the application could use the camera, the machine learning algorithm on a smartphone to identify a disease and pest in the crops. So there is the fundamental data science associated to it. But if you think about the mobile computing that is required to manage the smartphone, even using drone with mobile agent, this is a skill that will not only call to hardcore data scientists, I would say, but also with people with a large panel of skills that can go from one challenge to the other and see the broad picture. So there is the expertise in depth, but I think breadth is also important in the field. But overall, it's a really interesting time because a lot of problems are getting revisited with new tools of data science. So even something we understood a couple of years back could be now improved and revisited with new tools. So that's a great opportunity for people starting their careers to jump off the train while the tools are being created or defined. And sometimes a fresh mind actually helps to see new perspective on problem. And a lot of employers, a lot of research team, even your teachers, when they are giving you projects, they are looking for your insight in one way or the other. So there is really a lot of opportunity right now in the field.
That's great advice, Daniel. Thank you. And I want to quickly highlight the idea of starting somewhere, whether that's through an online Python tutorial, as you mentioned, Daniel, or taking a data science class, as Zoran previously advised. So such great insight into the wide array of places data science can take you and where you can start. So we want to thank our audience for sending in your questions via the registration. We've gathered all your questions, and based on your submissions, we'd love to ask the panelists another question regarding career preparation. So I'd like to introduce one of our great outreach team leaders of the Northeastern Data Corps, who helped put this event together, Faru Goramani, who is the Vice President for Research Innovation and Sponsored Programs for EDGE. And Faru will moderate this next question.
Yeah, thank you, Haley. And it's a pleasure to be here. All of you as panelists have provided great insights on how students and people who want to go into the data science area, data analytics area can prepare. I wanted to ask more specifically, what are some of the skills, specific skills that are required for people in data science, both with regard to technical skills as well as other skills. Marija, you provided some great information about the types of internships that you've been involved in. It would be helpful for the participants to learn more about how do you find these opportunities.
Yes, so I find them online mostly. So if you know specific companies that where you would like to work for, I would suggest go try to apply from September for those specific companies first. But if you would just be more interested in a particular position, I would suggest go through LinkedIn or Indeed. If you search by a position name that you're interested in, then you should get pretty good idea of what they are doing through the description of the role. Unfortunately, there is no real consensus between how roles are named and so on. Sometimes there is a huge difference between the role of data scientist and machine learning or machine learning engineer, and then sometimes that is the same thing. Usually in smaller companies, there is no huge difference. In bigger companies, there is a huge difference. And then there are options to apply, usually just by clicking on the links, uploading your resume, and so on. Then you have interview process, usually lasts from 2 to 4 interviews. The most I've had is 7, but yeah, it can be long even for internships. I already wrote to somebody as a response now, but basically if you're applying for that data science role, meaning that you're more interested in handling the data and understanding how the data works and so on, that you would be more asked about about data science algorithms, about statistics. You would be asked to know SQL, because you would obviously need to find a way to retrieve your data from some database that they usually have. And you would be asked to know one programming language. If you're more applying for a machine learning engineering role, then you would be required to know obviously at least one programming language, and then some you would need some knowledge of algorithms and data structures, because there you are required to code more. You are expected to implement your algorithms, not only to work on the data understanding. Yes, that's basically what you need to know. Obviously, based on your background and your preferences, you should pick one of the other roles. But as I said, in some cases, data science would be actually the same as machine learning. So you really need to go into the descriptions and look into what the company is asking in the requirements of you, what they are expecting you to know, and based on that, you can conclude how good fit is it for you. And then if you're international students, don't be discouraged. I got invited maybe on average to 5 to 7% of cases I've been invited to just talk to them. So first round interview. If you're a local, like American student, then it's probably a bit bigger chance. Also, as you go towards the end of the studies, your chance is going to grow, because they are more interested in people who are finishing soon. Then someone asked in the comments, what do you need, how to basically make yourself more prominent, and that would be create your GitHub page, put up stuff that you have done through projects or courses, or maybe in your free time. Then there are many options for you to practice if you forgot certain information, if you didn't learn it well. You can go and there are many online courses that you can listen to. There are many platforms such as, for example, HackerRank, where you can practice software, like writing basically code and algorithms, but also machine learning questions. Go search for machine learning questions on Google. There are GitHub pages where you have questions and answers, so most asked questions for the interviews. So there are many resources out there. There is even something now called Workera. So that thing helps you assess your knowledge in mathematics, data science, machine learning, software engineering, and one more thing, basically all things related to the roles. And you can see how many things you know and what you need to improve. And yeah, this is basically what would be my advice, both for internship and job applications. For job, it's just like more interviews. There is no really big difference otherwise.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Amin, Ra, Daniel, Marija, and Zoran for sharing your insights and expertise. I'd like to invite Florence Hudson back to take us through the next part of the program.
Thank you so much, Faru, and thank you again, Amin and Maria. Everyone, hang on, don't go anywhere. And Zoran and Daniel, because you just provide so much inspiring information about how we can start and continue our data science journey. So I'd like to go to the next slide now. Macy, one of our students, is handling the slides for us, so thank you very much. And so we're really excited that not only are we launching our outreach team's work with this data science career panel today for the Northeast Student Data Corps, we're also launching our content and pedagogy teamwork, which is free data science resources for learners and educators. And this is on the NSDC website, nebigdatahub.org/NSDC. And that's going to be on the next slide as well. And when you go there, underneath the information that's currently there about this webinar, which will be gone after the webinar is done, you can find Learner Central and Educator Central. Here we have curated content, data science courses, videos, curriculum. We have, as you could see, a data science ethics area because ethics is very important in data science, privacy, ethics, and trust. And when you're learning data science, what we really have to think about is what data you choose to use, what data you don't choose to use, because that's an ethical issue and can have bias associated with it, as well as the algorithms, how they work, and how they're updated over time as new insights become available. So data science ethics is actually part of both Educator Central and Learner Central. Then under Learner Central, we have a Getting Started area, including links to open Khan Academy type of work and, pre-algebra and algebra and math. We have an introduction to intermediate area where you can get into some of the initial steps of data science, as well as more about statistics. We have an intermediate to advanced area, and then a computer programming area where you can learn about Python and R and which one are you interested in, as well as the MIT Missing Semester, which goes into some other computer science material, all open online curriculum. Then under the Educator Central, this is for educators who are either beginning to teach data science, thinking about beginning to teach data science, want to integrate it into either a humanities curriculum or at a high school level or in a STEM program for high school. And also as you look to create and launch a bachelor's or master's program in data science, we have materials from Data 8 at UC Berkeley. University of Rochester, New York actually took that and customized a class there. There's Open P-Tech and Open Data Science for All material. There's also a curriculum from CUNY, from the City University of New York. So from a community college or 2 or 4 year college that created a brand new course last year, a brand new bachelor's class. So there's really a lot, a bachelor's program, there's really a lot you can learn from here, as well as open data sets you could use for use cases in data science. So we're very excited about this. And a number of you asked, how can I get started or how can I move forward? And I know one of the high school students who joined the Northeast Student Data Corps Slack channel this morning, they were going back and forth. We were communicating this morning that, you could use these in high school as well. You could be an adult learner. You could be retooling yourself at the age of 50 or any age. So this is really open to anybody. And we encourage you to use it and to use the Slack channel as a community of support. Some of you were asking, and Zoran was answering some questions about that. This is a community of support that you can have if you don't have a local community support in data science. That's one of the reasons we created this. If you're alone, either you can't go to school right now or they don't have data science at the schools that are available to you, jump in and get started. And then you can come to us as a community to help you. So that's what this free data science curriculum and resources area is about. We want this to be crowdsourced. If you know other content, the high school student shared some with me this morning. I think we already added it, so take a look at the website if you're the person who gave it to us. And so let us know what else we can add. And on the next slide, what we want to do is, this is very exciting, And I just want to share a little bit that now we're going to turn this over to Scott Blender, who is a freshman at Temple University in Philadelphia. And he's actually also involved in our COVID Information Commons Student Paper Challenge. And in a call last week, he mentioned to us that he would like to have a chapter at Temple. And we hadn't even thought of that before. And we said, what a great idea, Scott. And so he got his advisor involved, one of the professors at Temple. And then we also reached out to Ryan Baker. Thank you for joining us, Ryan, who is at Penn and on the advisory board. Thank you. And so we're going to have Scott talk about how he's launching the first Northeast Student Data Corps chapter. So Scott, take it away. And thank you again for being so proactive and getting this whole thing started about the chapters.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And I just want to say hello to everyone here in the audience today. As you all know, my name is Scott, and I'm a freshman data science and mathematical economics major at Temple University. And I'm also the founder of Temple Data Science Community, which is a new student organization here at Temple. I'm pleased to announce today the start of the Northeast Student Data Corps chapter system, where we plan on uniting universities in similar regions together to further advance the NSDC's mission. The first chapter will be launched in Philadelphia in partnership with Temple, Drexel, and the University of Pennsylvania. We plan on centering our work on 3 central focus areas, including education, community development, and project-based collaboration. Each chapter plans to extend the mission of the NSDC by creating localized community development initiatives to educate underrepresented and underserved populations in data science fundamentals. Potential events will include peer-to-peer mentorship opportunities, connecting students at schools with robust data science programs to students who lack those opportunities, collaborative interdisciplinary research projects to ensure students have chances to apply theory to practice, and finally, community speaker series, similar to the conference that we had today. If you're interested in starting your own chapter or learning more, join the Slack community on the NSDC website or fill out the post-event survey. And thank you all so much for this opportunity.
Scott, this is wonderful. And I just want to mention that, he created this whole idea. And I love these little ideas you have here about coffee chat discussions. So get to know the students, make it very friendly, because this is a very inclusive community that we're creating. And this is such a great way to start it, especially, at the local level now, which is so cool. And they'll leverage the resources from the NSDC, like the ones we just looked at in the Learner Central. We'll provide peer-to-peer mentoring. Workshops, speakers, as he was saying, and research projects. What we're looking forward to is actually curating some data science use cases that we can add to the NSDC website, and students participating can help with that. And so I just want to ask Ryan if he wants to say a word or two from Penn, because we're so delighted that you're jumping in and helping us with this, Ryan.
Just that this is a great initiative and we're really happy to support it at Penn, and we'll be looking for kind of building the community at Penn as well and working together. So those of you in the Philadelphia area, we look forward to meeting you and working together.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for including us.
Thank you, Ryan. And Ryan has been a real leader in our big data education MOOC, massively open online course, and a number of other areas over the years with the hub. So thank you very much for your constant leadership and teamwork. We really appreciate it. Okay, great. So why don't we move on to the next slide? And I think I'm going to pass this back to my trusty co-moderator, Haley.
Thanks, Florence. And thank you, Scott, for initiating this new NSDC chapter, telling us more about it. And thanks to Ryan for joining in on this new initiative and helping to expand the NSDC across different communities. So we're so glad that you all have joined us today, and we hope that this is just the beginning of your deeper connection to data science and the Northeastern Data Corps. Here are some next steps you can take to continue your journey. And just so you know, we'll also be sharing these links in the chat as well. So you can leverage the free online NSDC resources for learners and educators that Florence mentioned earlier at anyBigDataHub.org/NSDC. You can register for our next data science career panel on March 19th, so just a month away, at bit.ly listed here. And we encourage you also to join the NSDC Slack channel at the bit.ly listed to collaborate with others, including an NSDC chapters channel if you are interested in learning how to start or participate in a local chapter. Go on to the next slide. And connect with us. So beyond all these resources, here's how you can stay in touch with the Northeastern Data Corps. So you can reach out to our team at contact@anybigdatahub.org. Further updates and resources from the Northeastern Data Corps will be available at our website, nebigdatahub.org/NSDC. And you can also sign up for our mailing list at tinyurl.com/NEBDHubList and follow us at NEBigDataHub on Twitter. We also have video from this event up next week on our YouTube channel, and we encourage you to subscribe to our channel for further updates via the bit.ly here. And there's also a QR code for you all to access our Slack channel. So a special thanks to our outreach team. They're really the ones who built this from the ground up, you know, starting with the idea and making it into an event with over so many people tuned in. And thank you each for your hard work and collaboration. And a special thank you to the outreach team leaders, Farouk Armani and Jennifer Oxenford, for their incredible team leadership and making this initiative really come to fruition. And a huge thank you as well to our 4 panelists for agreeing to be a part of this and really honestly pioneering the Data Science Career Panel series. We're really appreciative of each of you for sharing your great data science insights and stories with us all today. And I'd also like to thank all of the event coordinators, from the outreach team to the executive director, Florence Hudson, and our hub operation manager, Katie Nam, as they've played such a huge role in every single step of this. And our student assistant, Macy, who's controlling the slides right now and timekeeping for us, Abhishek, who's also been behind the scenes overseeing the Q&A and who played such a significant role in creating and designing the learners and educators page that can now be found on the NSDC website. And Helen, who's helping curate the blog post for this event and who worked her magic on getting our learners and educators page up and running. So as I like to say, teamwork makes the dream work, and this panel is definitely a dream come true for many of us. So thank you, everyone. And to all of you who tuned in today and who will be watching the recording later, this wouldn't be a success without each and every one of you. So we hope this panel was super helpful and rewarding. And please keep the conversation going through our Slack channel and all the other ways that you can keep in touch with the hub. If you have to drop off now, we hope you stay engaged and keep connected with us. The panelists have graciously agreed to stay on for an extended 15 minutes to answer some Q&As. So we will begin that right now. But thank you, everyone.
After we thank Haley. Haley's been our project coordinator for the Northeast Student Data Corps from when it was just a little dream, and look where we are. So thank you for your patience and perseverance and all your leadership. Thank you very much, Haley. Okay, so now we're going to go to additional Q&A for those of us who can stay on. And Katie, our incredible operations manager, has been curating some questions out of the Q&A that we didn't get to yet. So Katie, would you like to read some of them?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you everyone, including Abhishek, who's been helping me with the Q&A here. We've highlighted some of those that were shared throughout the presentation. So I will just pull one up here. The question is, with the rapid growth of the data science field, is there less of a need to fill data science positions from related fields, such as data analytics, computer science, software engineering, etc.? Or is there still ample opportunity for a career in data science coming from outside of a specific field? What recommendations do you have for someone looking to shift more toward data science? So anyone who'd want to weigh in about sort of a transitional opportunity, please feel free.
I can try. So if you're in school, so life is getting easier. Used to be so you have to know everything, yeah. But people realize soon that that's not going to work, yeah. So if your school is one of the schools, there's more and more schools that have, let's say you're an undergraduate student here, and there is this data science track, or there are now even machine learning programs, yeah. So take a look, yeah, maybe that's actually what you want to do, yeah. So basically what that design allows is taking early in your career some of the courses that are very relevant for data science, yeah, without being asked to take everything else, yeah. For example, I don't know, if you're in computer science department, yeah, maybe maybe that program would allow you to take something that is more advanced from data science side, yeah, but then you would not have to take, let's say, compilers, yeah. Because you decide a little bit earlier that you are going to go for data science career, yeah. So compilers are probably not particularly useful on that track, yeah. So if that's an option, yeah, explore it, yeah. So there are other places where you would not have that option yet, yeah. That's coming soon, I hope, everywhere. But everywhere you should be able, if you are an undergraduate student, to talk to your advisor and see, is there an option, yeah, to take undergraduate research experience at your college, and not just summer. Summer is a great time to do it, but maybe you can also take this 3 credits independent studies instead of something else, yeah. So as long as you convince your advisor, yeah, that this is going to be valuable, yeah. So you have to talk at the first step with the professor who runs a lab, yeah, who would accept you to get involved, yeah. That's a very different opportunity. So my point is that internship is very useful, but you might be able to do essentially equivalent things at where you are, right? And then always look around, yeah, and ask other people, yeah, so who did it maybe last semester, so what they recommend, yeah. Talk to people, and then that will, well, use this connect with us, yeah. And I'm sure there will be others out there who've been there, yeah, and who might point you to the right direction, yeah. So you're not alone.
That's great. Thank you so much, Zoran. So Abhishek, since you've been graciously curating the questions in the background too with Katie, would you like to ask the next question? Abhishek is another student on the Hub team at Columbia.
Hi, Florence. Thank you so much. Sure. So next we have, would anyone recommend any good places to get industrial or government open data for practice?
I think Amin Ra knows a lot about that. You might have created the New York City Open Data Portal, Amin, did you? He's still here. Oh, he might have had to run. So actually on our website, we actually have a New York City Open City Data Portal information, a link under the, I think it's the educators page, if I have that right, Helen. And we also have another area of our website, and we're going to bring it over to the educators page. There's a Boston Open Data Science website, Open Data Portal. So there are actually a number of them. We also just launched on the Hub, and maybe we could put this into the chat, we have an industry resources for academia page. And we actually just today, Macy, you would have that link. We actually just launched the Microsoft Academic Resources for Academia, open resources, and it includes 20 or 30 open data sets, including some municipal data sets. So we have a number of these things on our website. So Macy, maybe you can stop sharing the screen.
I'm sorry, Florence. I would actually have something to say. I already answered a bit. There is a data.gov, which basically hosts the data for entire US, but also most of the states have their open data initiatives, and most of the big cities. If you're interested, also there are European Union level data, and also for each state open data, I mean, and on some things like even, I don't think that much of the information is there in US, such as smart cities and so on. And additionally, there is a thing that I didn't mention that comment, which is Google has a thing called Google Dataset Search. So you can literally go and search the dataset, and I'm going to post a link now in the answer to that particular question. So you can search the dataset based on the query, like what are you interested in, and they would display you different options. Most of that would be data available to download by itself.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Maria. Anyone knows anything that's helpful with this, please do share, but that was a lot of great information. Do you use this information in the work that you do now?
Yes, I do. In many cases, when you don't have enough data, I worked with CDC, we needed a lot of additional information. So yes, we did use this kind of stuff. Also, I used the local websites that I had to scrape. So the data was not readily available, but I could go and download the data from the local websites, meaning from the state's website, from the city's website. And this is why I know that most of the data is already there. In some cases, you need to put more effort, but if you're using this information that I've given in previous talk, it's already, everything is already there for you. You just need to download the file.
That's wonderful. You know, and I think what you're teaching us too, Maria, is that kind of, they say, if there's a will, there's a way. You know, sometimes you have to go looking and then you can find the data and then figure out how you can use it. So I think that's wonderful that you shared all that and actually taught us how you do that. So thank you very much. Abhishek, is there another question you'd like to ask?
Yes, sure. So we actually have, I think, 3 or 4 more questions, depending on the time we have. So next we have someone that's a master student in data science that's facing an issue. They often face a trade-off where they either work on a socially oriented project or something that's less mission-driven but has an opportunity to learn more from more experienced data scientists. Would anyone have any recommendations about institutions or roles where they might be able to find a good balance of both?
The data science for good question.
Yeah.
Daniel, it sounds like you do some of that. You know, when you're talking about doing early prediction for earthquakes and tsunamis and taking care of humans and edge data and sensor data.
Yes, I do. But to answer the question, I'm not sure it's always a binary between the socially good and the mission driven. It's always worth discussing with the people offering the project, and you can probably create your own mission driven project into a bigger project. So I would suggest to stay open about the different things that are available. In terms of particular company to suggest, not sure I have this information now, but I'll be happy to look for it and post it on the website as well.
That's very thoughtful. Thank you very much.
That sounds amazing. So next we have data science seems to contain a lot of fields. Do we have to understand everything about data science to be a data scientist, or should we just focus on simple languages and ML or AI? Wow.
Oh, so I can try that. Yeah. I teach this course that is very popular this semester. Yeah, I teach social networks. Yeah, and people come from all around the Temple, and Temple is a big school. Yeah, so that's the first question that people ask. Yeah, and then turns out, yeah, that what we really care is, I mean, I wish you know all of that in your background. Yeah, very few people have all of that. Yeah. But open mind is actually what counts more than anything. Yeah, yeah, a little bit of the background is good enough to start here. Yeah. So you have to program in some programming language. It's good that if it happens to be Python, yeah, but this is not the end of the world if you do not use Python yet. Yeah, maybe you can start with Excel. Yeah. And maybe soon you will realize that there's a better way to use your time. Yeah, you will just learn a little bit of Python and then things will happen easier. Yeah, but you can start with what you have. Yeah, and pick up the rest. Yeah, so this is not actually that it takes a very long time to get involved. Yeah, you can start with very little.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for answering that. So next we have a question that's more on practical skill building. So do you guys have any of you have any tips about what skills would be specific, like what skills specifically you'd recommend they learn? So what works across industry for programming language? Is it R or Python for analytical software or visualization tools? Is it Tableau or Power BI or anything specific in that regard?
If I can answer this one, and it's tied to another question that was on the chat, I would say to trust your fundamentals, whether you have a background in CS, also in data science. What you describe in technical term in the question is could be seen as pooling data, merging it, analyzing data. So that could be done with a lot of tools. If you get the bigger picture on this, sure, R and Python are things to know and will help in your career, but it's also important to understand the underlying concept. And especially I'm thinking about data visualization. There's a lot of amazing tool out there, and I'm sure I could not even cite half of it. So I think the bigger picture concept will definitely help.
Thank you so much. I think you hit the nail right on the head there. So as a final question, we just have, what role does mathematics play in the day-to-day work in the data science field?
So maybe I can try that, yeah. So it's not really mathematics for mathematics, yeah, but the problem-solving skills, yeah, that matters, yeah. And that can be actually in mathematics, yeah, but can also be in social sciences or physics, yeah. So I see more and more employers, yeah, that they don't really go and ask this question, yeah, to test this candidate, how fluent you are in this particular tool, yeah, this programming environment, yeah. But people really ask about how would you approach this problem, yeah? And if you think about mathematics, yeah, often that is actually what you learn there that stays. Yeah, many other things people forget very quickly. So problem solving is actually what's extremely valuable here.
Thank you so much. And I think that's about it for all the questions that we've curated from the list we had received from earlier. So thank you so much, everyone, for answering.
Thank you, Abhishek. Great job. And thank you, everyone who hung on. Wow, we still have about 85 people. That's a great sign. And we really want to thank everyone who sent their questions in beforehand, too, because we were able to use those to help us decide what questions to ask the panelists during the panel. So I think with that, we'll probably say thank you so much to everybody. This has been like a dream come true. This was just a little idea last summer. And now we're so excited. We have hundreds of people as part of this community. And we'll be keeping in touch, inviting people to the ongoing Data Science Career Panel series. We encourage you to leverage the content, the Learners and Educators Central pages. Tell us what content you'd like to see. If you suggest we change things, this is the team. We're the ones who do everything. We make the donuts, as they say. So you can let us know what you think. And we love listening to the community because when we follow you, we can help you be more successful. So thank you for being part of this mission to increase data science literacy and awareness. Thank you for jumping into the data science field with all of us. And we look forward to seeing you on the Slack channel and on future events. Thank you again to the whole team.